Welcome back everybody, my name is Nick930 and this is a video review for the new downloadable content for Battlefield 1 in the name of the Tsar. Finally, we have some action on the Eastern Front in Battlefield 1. This expansion features 6 new maps, 1 new small-scale game mode, 11 new weapons, a new modification for the cavalry unit, and 4 new vehicles. The expansion is available for premium users 2 weeks early starting today, and will be made available separately on the 19th. The Name of the Tsar expansion features 6 new maps that take place on the Eastern Front of World War I, allowing players to play as the Russians for the first time. Several maps feature conflicts between the Russian Red Army and the Germans, while some maps feature the Russian Civil War, allowing players to play as either the Bolsheviks or the White Army. All the maps introduce a welcome change of scenery with plenty of snowy valleys and forested areas, with generally large open fields, something that the game desperately needed after the claustrophobic maps in the French expansion earlier this year. The first map I want to talk about is called Luphow Pass. Luphow Pass was actually released a bit earlier than this expansion and features a very snowy mountainside with dangerous paths all around and large castles on either side that act as main bases for both teams. Horses and airplanes are featured heavily in this map and can be used to easily traverse the terrain, and this map features the armored train as the behemoth. The next map I want to talk about is called Albion, or Albion, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. Albion offers the most naval warfare of any map in the game yet. The map is broken up into several small islands, each offering 1 or 2 capture points. The islands offer very little cover aside from some trees, rocks, and a few destructible huts, and medium-range weapons will easily dominate on this map. You'll often find yourself being shot at from adjacent islands by large squads, and this map can easily become one-sided if your team fails to move together. Because this map is so heavily based on naval combat, there's actually a brand new landing craft called the Y-Lighter that features twin machine guns for passengers to use and can act as a mobile spawn point, perfect for storming the many beaches on the map. There's also a new bomber plane called the Lila Miromets that offers increased health over traditional bomber planes and more anti-infantry focused armaments. The Dreadnought is Albion's featured behemoth. Next up we have Galicia. Galicia is a massive open field with very little cover, aside from a large trench line in the center of the map, a long dried up riverbed, and a few buildings and flipped over rail cars along the side. Trucks and horses will likely reign supreme on this map, and infantry using long-range weapons in the windmills will likely have a huge advantage. This map features the new armored truck along with plenty of cavalry spawns and artillery trucks. I recommend sticking close to your squad and maintain control of the trench lines and riverbeds, while also preventing the enemy from sneaking around and backcapping objectives. And be careful of enemy aircraft because there's very little cover out in those wide open fields. The train makes another appearance as the behemoth in this map. Brusilov Keep is probably one of my favorites from this expansion because of its tight design and fast-paced gameplay. This map takes place alongside a railroad that crosses through a small town. Most of the fighting takes place across this bridge entering the town area. The map features some trucks and artillery vehicles, but there doesn't appear to be any aircraft, and the terrain offers enough verticality that snipers aren't going to be as much of a nuisance. Close range combat works great in this map, and working with your squad as you push objectives appears to be very effective. The behemoth in this map is the train once again. Tsaritsýn is the 5th map in this list and features a smaller scale than the other entries, with only 3 objectives in the large conquest game mode. The fighting takes place in a city with a large cathedral in the center. The cathedral is surrounded by destroyed terrain with narrow trench lines and barbed wire all over the place, making it chaotic to traverse. The cathedral is massive with several entry points and a second floor to defend from. Part of the cathedral is blasted open and a large amount of fighting often comes from this opening along with the 3 doorways on either side of the building. This map tends to become very one-sided once a team holds the cathedral. We ended up pushing the enemy far into their spawn, so far that they couldn't even take cover without being warned of going out of bounds. This map has the potential to have some of the same problems that Suez currently has, and I'd like to see this map extended upon in the future to help fix the obvious issues. The behemoth on this map is replaced with several elite kits that will spawn for the losing team. And the final map offered in the Name of the Tsar DLC is called Vulga River. This is a map I didn't get a chance to try out myself, but from what I've seen online, this one is another large open field with plenty of solid ruins to hide behind, offering plenty of cover and plenty of opportunities for medium to long range combat. There's several narrow trench lines, and instead of a behemoth, there's 4 elite pickup kits just like Tsaritsýn. Along with the maps are a few new weapons for each class, that I unfortunately could not try out yet due to the difficult challenges that you're required to complete in order to unlock them. DICE also added in a tweak to the cavalry class, allowing players to change the melee weapon from the typical sword to a huge lance that could be used to skewer enemies as you run past. The first time I attempted this kill, I succeeded and the animation looked awesome, but after my first initial success, I tried it again on several different groups of enemies and had less luck. The hitbox for the lance is incredibly small and difficult to pull off, and the lance itself has a small hitbox when you just swing it, making it an incredibly ineffective weapon. The sword is still much more reliable, but it's worth trying out the lance just to get that one awesome kill. The nice thing about these new Russian maps is the significant lack of tanks. Rather than having large open maps with tons of land ships and light assault tanks rolling around dominating the infantry, these maps feature only armored trucks and artillery trucks. Infantry seem to play a much more critical role in this expansion, and I found myself in more infantry fights than I would have expected in such large levels. DICE did introduce a brand new armored truck called the Brusilov Keep, a 3-seated vehicle that features 2 side-mounted machine guns for passengers to use, and 1 large cannon machine gun turret mounted on the rear that's only accessible to the driver. This vehicle is interesting because as a driver, you need to find a good position and then turn around 180 degrees in order to take advantage of the heavy weapons on the rear of the vehicle. When using the vehicle, I found that the sensitivity on the turret was way too high and it didn't feel consistent with the rest of the vehicles in the game, making it very difficult to aim. Garford also features some bright headlights on the front of the vehicle that make it difficult to identify if it's heading straight for you. This vehicle can also deploy smoke grenades and drop supplies like other vehicles in the game. In the Name of the Tsar DLC also features a brand new game mode called Supply Drop. Supply Drop is very similar to Drop Zone and Droid Run from the Star Wars Battlefront game. A supply drop will drop down randomly somewhere on the map and both teams need to race to the supplies and capture them and to prevent enemies from taking control. Holding a supply drop long enough will grant players access to powerful elite classes like the Flame Trooper kit. Unfortunately, I was unable to find a match with enough players to try this mode out, which is typical with the PC gaming community. I also failed to find a single match of either of the new operations, thanks largely in part to the stupid matchmaking system that the game requires for operations. Overall, the DLC is decent, but certainly not the biggest DLC ever in a Battlefield game as DICE claims. Expansions for Battlefield 3 featured 20 weapons with each consistent release, whereas we waited a full year for this expansion and were only given 10 weapons. The vehicles are underwhelming, and while there's a lot of maps on offer here, there's only a few that I can actually see myself enjoying. Maps like Tsaritsýn need some serious improvements, and the game modes like Supply Drop and Operations are dead on arrival. The content overall is perfectly fine, but the unreasonably long wait for this release may have done some permanent damage to the lifespan of this game's community, and DICE is going to need to deliver more regular updates in order to save that community. I hope this review was helpful, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like the video and subscribe for more reviews posted every week. And make sure you stay tuned to my channel today. I plan on posting a review for the Blood Orchid Rainbow Six DLC that also launched today. And I will be picking up NAC 2 and Destiny 2, and will do reviews as soon as possible.